And hello, and welcome back to Chaos Child. I'm going to start this off with defending myself. So, last time there was like a choose a picture matching game sort of thing that was sort of bullshit, and I'm going to stand by that was sort of bullshit. And to be explicitly clear, this is just about the specific time and place and instance of this mechanic too. And I know some people are like, hey, it's a mechanic in the game, yeah, you gotta remember stuff. It's like, what? Maybe it's better in later instances. Maybe that expects you to know it based on having played the previous game. Like they didn't even really think about that. But as far as I can tell, there isn't anywhere to get that information again. From what I remember, the information about specifically, the name to picture association outside of context clues, which was okay for some of them. Outside of context clues, it basically just, you had a couple, I think maybe 2 times where it flashed those, that information in front of you, while also having everything fucking else going on. The expectation to remember that is dumb. If they want this to not be a sequel that depends on you playing the first game, they should have something better set up to actually lead you to the answer, or have something you could actually check for that information. Or if they want to just use that as an introduction to this map mechanic, do something you could actually look up and be like, huh, was there this information? Yes, there's something in the... Someone mentioned something about there being stuff in the tips about it. That's not a picture thing. If you want me to do something where I pick them and whatnot, don't make it picture-based, basically. I'm just saying this from a pure design perspective. Don't do something that you can actually go in and say, hey, I have that information, I can go double check it, because that's not information I'm inherently familiar with, because I didn't play the first game. So, that feels just like bad design from a game mechanic perspective, and I feel like I'm justified in finding that sort of bullshit. So, hopefully it's just because they did something. They had some weird expectation for people and hope that the context clues was enough to get through it without too much trouble, without annoying people. And that future instances will be more dependent on information that I should be focusing on and should remember, rather than random pictures that popped up a couple times previously quickly while everything else is going on. And there I said it. Moving on. I scratched my head, confused.
おい、ついでと見ちゃおうぜ。お前がラブホテルで撮った動画だよ。さっきの映像を見ちゃった後だ。もうどうにでもなれだ。
You are now excited about that, but I'm okay with this. I want to see if you hear the knock. I want to see if you hear knocks. Ito sounded like he was having a hard time believing what he's seen. What he's seen was real. He'd already copied the file off the Pokecom and gone to open it. Probably was just overwhelmed. I know that was how I'd been.
間近で撮ってるから相当だぞ。
I gave him warning, and he responded with a firm nod. He clicked on the file.
Shin-chan, 本当に？
ああ、多分な。文化系だったような。
Oh, you recognized her? Ito was moving at a quick pace. His expression was serious, but he was having trouble hiding his excitement.
そんなことあるのか?
We're not going to learn about the knocking thing. Was this before? Was her showing up? Her showing up was before the knocking, wasn't it? I bet they stopped the video too. As soon as they got to, he's like, I recognize that person.
んだよ、マジだって。
We were following the Ito down the hallway quickly. After seeing the video of the room at the Loboto, he'd said,
こいつ知ってるぞ。
Well, those were some dramatic sound effects. He said that he knew the girl who had been in the room with us. That can be true. Sarah and I had insisted he was mistaken, but Ito wouldn't listen.
部会で見かけた気がするんだよ。
Even if he was right, Cult Leaders Meeting was where all the leaders of the school clubs and teams got together. Also where the student council president probably is. If she was there, then did that mean she was a leader in some club? I asked Ito, but he just smirked a little.
わかんねえぞ。うちみたいに部長が大勢の人の前で喋るのが苦手で、副部長が部会の議長だから、ただの部員である俺が出ているところもあるんだからな。
苦手じゃない。ただ、なんていうか。
You are terrible at it. I didn't like it. It made me nervous, which made you terrible at it. Being in front of all those people, I mean, which made you terrible at it. Step 1 of not being terrible at something. Admit you're being terrible at it. Even if there are good reasons for that. That doesn't stop you from being terrible at it. And everybody knows those meetings never actually lead to anything productive. If you made a movie out of them, no one would go see it.
なんていうか、なんだよ。
What weird standards?
いいだろ別に。というか、どこに行くつもりなんだよ。
ここだ。
Ito suddenly stopped. It was the student council room on the 6th floor of the annex building.
なんで？
部活紹介とかの書類が写真付きで置いてあるんだよ。校内中探すよりいいだろ。
Wait a second. I pulled Ito away from the door. Or, how about you don't go in, you let Ito go in by himself, so if the student council president is there, he be able to lie more convincingly that it's not related to this.
バカ！もしクルスがいたらどうするんだよ。
Ito gave a little moan.
それはお前がなんとかごまかせよ。
Oh, okay, so that's on me. Got it.
だから、それができるくらいだったら最初から。
入りまーす。
Onoe ignored us completely and walked right into the room. Damn it, now what? We just have to pray she wasn't here. Convenient. Our eyes met, and I suddenly forgot how to breathe. Oh crap, that's not good. Why? Breathe, breathe, breathe! No, breathe! It was that girl. Oh, this feels negative. This feels like this would be negative.
タクル？あなたたちもどうしたの全員で。
I'm surprised she's here rather than at the police station.
あ、いや。
The woman, no, the girl, stared at us suspiciously. And then for the first time she realized that I couldn't take my eyes off of her.
何ほうけてるのあなたたち。
The words wouldn't come out. What do I say? Why was she here? Why was she acting so normal? Every single one we have involving her is involved her killing me. At least the first one was. This already feels like it's going to, though. Without warning, the girl started to laugh.
やっと見つけた。見つけましたよ。
Everyone froze. Even Caruso seemed uncertain of what to do as she stared at the girl. The girl jammed her hand inside her pocket and took out a butterfly knife. She pointed the blade right at me.
宮代タクル。死ねよ、お前。
Got it. That's about what I figured. Was she really a murderer then? Did I try to run? I tried to turn around and run right out of the room. But unfortunately, Ito was in my way. I ran straight into him and fell backwards into the ground. Crap! Alarm bells were going off in my head. Run, 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 run! Get off the ground and run!
捕まえた。
Oh boy, that's disturbing. I felt something cold up against my neck.
バイバイ。
Then came the pain. I felt strangely detached and indifferent as I watched the blood spurt out of my own neck. Oh, I did not help my mental state there. Even though I knew it was just something I'd imagined, it still gave me the goosebumps. Something like that could really happen right now. Well, no. If you were a murderer who was caught at the scene and then brought in by the police and managed to get out within a couple days, somehow, you're probably not going to be the sort to kill openly in front of like 5 other people. I just wanted anybody to give me an explanation.
のんちゃん、知り合いなの？
Sarah motioned towards the girl.
ええ、後輩。2年生で文芸部部長の有村ひなえさん。あ、どうもです。
I saw those little fangs. The girl bowed to us.
クルス先輩のお友達ですか？ええ。そっちが新聞部部員で3年の伊藤真二くん。同じく部員で2年の尾上セリカ。で、それが部長で3年の宮代拓。身の程を知らない私の愚弟。
An accurate description. Chris's eyes narrowed as she glared at me, like a frighteningly accurate description.
弟さんですか？でも名字が。養護施設のね。へえ、血がつながってない兄弟。なんかいやらしいですね。
Don't you even fucking dare.
小説とかと一緒にしないでちょうだい。
But still, doesn't it seem kind of nutty? She asked with a wink. What? Why? What are you doing here? I wiped my sweaty hands on my pants and tried to ignore my pounding heart. She's surprisingly lighthearted, given recent events.
何してるんですか？いや、その。
Damn it! Get the words out!
タクル？
Sarah seemed to understand what I was trying to say and finished my sentence for me.
有村さんは何しにここに来たんですか？クルス先輩に文化祭のことで話があったんだよ。てか同学年なんだから敬語いらないよ。うん。まあいっか。じゃあ私はこれで。クルス先輩、すいませんでした。
Kirsty waved a hand and told her not to worry.
事情があるなら仕方ないでしょう。文芸部は文化祭に参加できないと話は通しておくから。でも、どうしても事情は言えないのね。痛いけな乙女の秘密ということで、何卒。了解。でも来年はフォローできないからね。はい、ありがとうございました。
The girl put her bag on her shoulder and bowed to us, then went to leave. Wait. I still haven't asked you about the things I need to. Her name, it was...
有村さん
My voice was loud enough that I made her jump a little.
びっくりした。元気ですね。
ごめんなさい。
The voice actor does do a good job of portraying his complete and utter futility in this endeavor.
いえ、別にいいんですけど。何です？
大声すいませんでした。いや、じゃなくて、ですね。その、
My face was turning red from nervousness. Damn it. This is always what happened the first time I talk to anyone. What should I ask? Oh, questions. Questions. Well, if I was super scared...
そのホテルで
If I was super scared of someone, I'd probably be aiming for something a little bit more light.
ホテル？
At least in my first question.
何してたんですか？あのホテルで
A moment. Felt like her body moved for just a moment.
有村さん？
I could see Kurisu frown in the corner of my eye. She's looking at me. Her expression hadn't changed. But for some reason, it felt like she was looking over me. But for some reason, it looked like she was looking me over. Is this going to go a weird direction? Because this is... And then she smiled.
気になります？
I mean, sure.
そりゃ
Just as I spoke, she leaned over and whispered in my ear.
だったら今度二人で一緒に行きましょう。
That is a little bit of 180 from the previous one.
え
何？なんて言ったの？私と宮代先輩だけの秘密です。
Did you get his name? I don't actually remember. Did he get his full name? I don't remember. Yeah, he got full name. Oh, that was fast. I consider that as a possibility, but quickly abandon it. I can imagine doing something like that after what I'd seen at the hotel. Something much worse was going on here. An awkward silence ensued as we waited for her to answer.
あなただったんですか？部屋に入ったっていううちの生徒は。
Open? Very, very open about it. Her tone of voice is perfectly normal. There's no surprise or anger, just a flat, level tone. But somehow that struck me as much worse.
言葉に出してもらってもいいですか？部屋に入ったのはあなたですか？
What?
そうだよ。
そうですか。
I couldn't tell if she cared or not.
それでホテルで何を？
部屋のドアが勝手に開いて、それで入れたそうですね。それは本当ですか？
The door opened on its own. She knew about that. I nodded.
言葉に出してもらってもいいですか？
Why is that important? That feels like really important. Huh?
本当だよ。勝手に内側から。
そうですか。
Oh, thought. Is she like a lie detector? And I have to say it out loud for her to confirm or deny? And then she seemed to be looking me over again. What's going on here?
有村さん？何かあなた。じゃあ、失礼します。
Wait, no. Arimura ignored Kirisu's question and went to leave.
ちょっとですから何を？
ああ、敬語いらないですよ。それに呼び捨てでいいです。後輩じゃないですか。それから。あなた、殺されますよ。宮代拓先輩。
Yay! Okay, that's not gonna help him. Those were her last words before she left the room.
Huh?
She didn't seem at all surprised that I had questioned her, but I froze solid. Well, President works to lie, seeking that which is real. Ebisu loves cats. Huh. Oh, yeah, one of these again. Forgot about that. Creepy as fuck. Super sticker. Kind of cute. Isn't that different? That feels different than a lot of the ones I've seen so far. Is this thing... Put it on Hachiko. Oh, like the dog? Oh, okay, like the dog statue. Wait, no. Oh no, is Haki... No, Hachiko is the... Hachiko. Is that the, like, dog statue then? I'm trying to remember. With the dog. I don't care about this creepy dog. Okay. That's weird. At the same time, Dogenzaga Shibuya. The sky had been overcast all day, and now it finally began to rain. Some of the news media that had been swarming around the Love Hotel decided it was a good time to go home. Others just took refuge in their vans, frowning. Meanwhile, Shinja's mind raced as quickly as the man trying to flee the storm.
どういうことなんだ?
Everything had started right after midnight. Arimura Hinae, I don't know, the Hakio girl, had refused to give even her name until he'd relay Momose's message to her. But as soon as she heard it, her attitude changed. His only choice now was to continue to do everything the Momose kids told him to do. The first thing she said was that there's almost no chance Arimura was a killer, and it was safe to let her go. The second thing he said was that it would be smarter to let her go and see what she did. The third thing she said was that even if he did get some answers out of her, he wouldn't be able to make sense of them. Chijo had used every bit of his authority to get her released. He'd been forced to suck up to some people he really didn't like, and in the end, she'd be monitored and questioned by the police daily. Since they hadn't known if she had anything else to do with Kakita's death, they used her assault on the police officer to bring her in. Either way, last evening marked 48 hours since her arrest. They had decided whether to let her go or seek a warrant for detention. They hadn't found any physical evidence connecting her to Kakita's murder, and Arimura herself said,
何も覚えていません.
That was all she said. In fact, is that consistent with what we just... She was asking the question. She asked it in a way like she understood what was going on. My interpretation of her saying that MC was gonna die was more along the lines of he heard the knocking, so that's probably an indicator. And she was like, I know what that knocking means. That means you're gonna die. That was my first assumption of what that meant. But that would require her to be aware of that, at the very least. The other stuff did not indicate one way or the other, but yeah, it didn't require her to be aware of the things she was asking. She could have just been told that at some point. Provisional release at this point felt like a bit of a stretch of his authority, but it was a sensible decision. If anything here wasn't sensible, the fact that he was doing everything Momose's acquaintances asked of him. He didn't have a plan to follow. It was the first time that it happened, he thought. He only managed to be successful at his age around what Momose called the hardheads in Sector 1 because he knew how to be flexible. The reason that many police officers could be stubborn and hard-headed was that most of the time, that was how you solved a case. Shinjo understood that the rules they clung to so fiercely, both written and unwritten, were the product of valuable experience. But he also understood that the unorthodox methods his senior detective friend had taught him were a weapon in their own right. Even the higher-ups didn't like him using them. They'd brought him success. One good example was the time the profilers had told them that the person behind a string of assaults was a man in his 20s who never left his house. He found out that the culprit was actually a runaway girl in her late teens who lived in a net cafe. He matched the internet logs that Section 1 had gathered with the data held by the Social Safety Section, a group that was on notoriously bad terms with Section 1. In the end, he cracked the case by logging into an online game and tracking down several of its players, including the girl behind the attacks. Shinjo was, if nothing else, confident that he was capable of not letting preconceptions keep him from making the best choice. But this time, not only did he not know what the best choice was, he didn't even know if the choices he was making were good or bad.
これじゃあ百瀬さんの言った通りじゃないか。
If he couldn't change things fast, he might end up being taken off the case. He looked at his watch and realized something. The man he was waiting for wasn't here. It had cost him quite a bit to get permission to show him the crime scene, and he was over 30 minutes late.
百瀬さんが言うには特徴のあるやつだからすぐにわかるって話だったが。
He didn't know what he looked like, but there's no way the officer standing guard outside can miss him.
ちょっと待ちなさい！こら！
He heard a loud voice from the hallway. Shindo decided that before he let him into the scene, he'd give him a lecture about his tardiness. He stopped, surprised.
女？
Okay. He didn't expect to see what he saw. Is that a uniform under there? He convinced himself that anyone weird enough to want to see a crime scene had to be a guy. But she looked like she'd be very pretty with makeup on, even if she wore none now. A frown was plastered on her face, and her long hair was half-heartedly tied behind her back. And she was wearing a white lab coat, but under it was...
制服？それにあれは確か。
Her uniform was Hekiho Academy, the same school Arimura and the two kids who'd snuck into the crime scene attended. Yeah, that's a lot of connections. Shinjo motioned to the officer to let her pass, and remembered the last name he'd been given by Mimose.
君が久野里さんかな。
Yeah. I leave it to you all. So, you don't need my confirmation.
は？
English?
There's no time to waste, as you know. Here. Yeah.
She's talking to someone like on a phone.
Well, I gotta nurse this damn cop. Okay. Later, Chris.
What? Who's Chris? And then she hung up the phone and glared at Shinjo. She showed no sign of apologizing for her lateness or gawking at the scene of the murder. This was her. It had to be. When he saw how arrogantly she was behaving, he knew immediately that this had to be the Kunisada person that Momose had told him about. He felt a little overwhelmed by her, but he tried to make his voice as strong as he could.
久野里さんかな。百瀬さんのことだからどんな人が来ても構わないつもりでいたんだが、若い女の子を入れるわけには。
こんな非常識が蔓延している現場で常識的なことを言うな。それが邪魔だと言われなかったか？
She ignored Shinjo's words and walked right past him. She stepped right onto a number of, on top of number plates that forensics had put down to identify locations of evidence. Then she looked at the blinds placed in the windows to stop the media from looking inside and stopped. Shinjo felt himself become annoyed by her attitude, particularly what she just said about him in English.
こちらが間抜けな警官だろうが指示には従ってもらう。今すぐに。
世間の連中は死体はみんな死んでると思ってる。
は？
英語を聞き取れる耳は持っていてもビンチャーは見てないのか。
Never heard of it. American movie. Oh, Fincher or something like that? Oh yeah, that sounds familiar. I don't fucking know. As an English-speaking person myself, I don't think I've watched this stuff. Technically. If I have, I definitely don't remember it being his stuff specifically. She put her hand to the blind that she'd been looking at.
何してんだ。
あんたらは現場は事件が起きた空間だけだと思ってるのかって言ってるんだ。
She kept her eyes on the exposed window. As she tossed him a Pokegon she'd fished out of her pocket. Shinjo grabbed it without thinking and looked down at it. The video. Yeah. They should be... they seem sort of incompetent with this whole digital side of this. Blink again. Yes. Blink. He was stunned. It's footage of the room he was in right now. It's probably Kagita dead and... Armura Hinae.
なんだこれは。
ついさっきウェブに貼られた動画だ。
I suppose that was fairly recent if it was at the same time as the rest of the stuff. Her answer made Shinjo feel pissed off at everything, including himself. Why didn't he notice? Why did he have to be shown this by the girl he just met?
窓の外からか。
He grabbed onto the window frame, looking for a spot where the video had been recorded. But all he saw was the external wall of the building slick with rain. There was only some kind of strange, creepy sticker there.
おい。
Shinjo yelled out into the hallway. The officer outside heard the tone of his voice and rushed inside. Shinjo pointed at the window and said,
至急鑑識を呼んで隣の建物の入り口を封鎖しろ。それからこの映像の出所を。
映像はともかく建物からはおそらく何も出ないぞ。外壁にカメラなどを取り付けた形跡はなかった。
え？
入り口にあった監視カメラの映像をコピーしてうちで洗っているがまあ出ないだろう。出てもらっちゃ困るんだよ。
She must have been enjoying this because Kunisada's frown twisted into a mischievous bully's expression. Again, he didn't understand. He didn't have time for this. He ignored her and ordered his men to seal the building, called forensics, and tracked down where that video was filmed. Well, that is standard operations. You can't really trust exactly what she thinks going on. Mind you, if you really think that it's pointless, Miss Girl, having them go and do that anyways doesn't mean you'll have any worse of a time trying to figure stuff out, at least. Worst case, you do find something. With that finished, she turned back to her.
それを調べていて遅れたのか。
現場保全を優先しろ。この動画は貼られた直後にアットちゃんに飛び火した。貼られてから40分強経過している。すでに5000人以上がこの動画にアクセスしてるんだ。その中に事件にへばりついている下のマスコミの関係者がいないと思うか。
待て、勝手に。
Fun. Good point.
ニコニアニュースの渡部です。この動画についてコメントを。
かいよみテレビです。お聞きしたいことが。
出ていけ、ホルダー。
He could hear yelling coming from the hallway.
くそ、またあのネット記者か。
Shinjo ran out into the hallway, infuriated.
捜査一課の方ですか？動画をご覧に。
許可なく入らないでください。コメントすることはありません。
押すんじゃない。
ご覧になったんですか？なっていないんですか？
コメントすることはありません。
Kunosato was still looking outside the window as she listened to the commotion in the hallway. She stuck her hands in her pockets and stared at the sticker on the opposite wall, the way a person on top of a tall building stares down at the tiny people on the street below.
なあ、気分はどうだ?
The sticker pictured two ugly overlapping faces. The rain made it look like they were crying.
目撃者がいるとすれば、お前だけだろう。
Kunosada smirked like a fighter facing down a worthy opponent. It's almost midnight now. Under bridge in Shibuya. She walked with her head down so that others can see her strange face. She's dragging her legs so her body tilted a little. Oh, is this the woman from the very beginning of this section? Chapter, or whatever it was called? She didn't have an umbrella, so the rain had fallen that evening, made her long bangs cling to her forehead. Water dripped down off of them. The eerie eyes that poked out from between her locks of hair looked like it was an animal hunting its prey. No one was moving but her. Normally, there would be people here at this hour. But the town left her alone, as if it had sensed something. She disappeared into an alley. She disappeared into an alley, without anyone noticing her. It was several minutes later when they appeared there. Oh. Bit of a different look between you two. A girl less than 10 years old, and an old woman well over 70. Oh, is that an old woman? Okay. I couldn't tell one way or the other. The old woman might have been blind, because she carried a stick and had her hand on the girl's shoulder. And the little girl was carrying something far too big for her tiny frame. Neither of them were carrying umbrellas, and both were soaking wet. They walked at a slow pace. Perhaps they knew the path well, or perhaps they simply didn't care, because they paid no attention to anything around them. And then, for the first time, the little girl saw something and stopped. The old woman stopped as well. The only sound in the alley was the sound of the rain. The girl stood there for a full minute. Eventually, she turned her head and led the older woman away. All that was left was the rain. And the things on the wall, were those there before? Were they just in the darkness?
が発見された事件で、その現場を映したと思われる映像がインターネット上に出回っており。
問題の映像は先日渋谷のラブホテルで自殺していた男性の遺体を映しており。
It is at least convenient that they're not. The video wasn't shot from the inside, or else we might be starting to be blamed for it. I can imagine the police showing up and being like, "Oh my goodness!" It was past midnight. All the news programs were talking about the video that had been uploaded onto the internet that afternoon. Since there was a dead body in the video, none of the programs were actually playing it, but the newscasters all described it. You know, without context, I wonder what logic. Like, they knew it was the crime scene because they were there and they knew what shit was going on inside of it. But everyone else. I guess it had the person's face, so they probably could have identified them. The actual person. It was as if they were telling people to watch the rest on the web.
となると、この報道が初耳の人間がネットに流れてくるか。
Twipo was the best way to see what people were saying at any given moment. I opened it and took a look. Where can you see the thing they're talking about on TV? This is getting exciting. Link so-and-so. I saw it, but I should have known better to watch this late at night. Someone tell me a funny joke or something.
だよな。
Whenever I searched for a keyword related to the case, I found a ton of tweets about the video and the news broadcast. The address of any page or aggregator site hosting the video was getting retweeted at an incredible rate. Of course, this is nothing new. @Chan had already been in a festival mode since the video had been first posted that evening. The video on the aggregator wiki had been quickly deleted, but someone had saved it and uploaded it to a bunch of other sites. Those sites had deleted it too, so others had repeated the process. After the news, the threads on @Chan had gotten bigger.
回転デッドか。これが通称になりそうだな。
I didn't know who'd first come up with that name, but more and more people on @Chan were using it. It's probably a play on the revolving bed the body had been found on. Since the body had been spinning too, the case was literally about the revolving den. @Chan, Twitter, and the aggregator sites and pages dealing with the case were in an uproar. I looked around and didn't see any new information, though. I'd seen it in person myself. I could easily tell when someone was lying or guessing.
0時過ぎ。こっちはどうだ。
There were no big updates on Shibuya news either. On the top of the page about the uploaded video, the top of the page was about the uploaded video, but it's basically just a rehash of existing information. Well, seeing how everything feels like it's going to be connected, how much you want to bet the person running the site is also part of that group that lab coat lady was part of? I thought with all that fuss, she'd be putting on a web radio broadcast. I wouldn't be surprised if the girl at the scene was part of the group too. But maybe she was busy. There's nothing about the sumo stickers or Arimura, which made sense, I guess. Even Kei wasn't psychic. Only we and the police knew about Arimura, and only we knew about the stickers. The sumo stickers.
くそ、本当であれば今日中にオトモレタンの現場に力シールがあるかどうか確認したいと思っていたのに。
あなた、殺されますよ。宮代拓先輩。
I can get the word she'd whispered out of my head. In the end, it had started raining, and I'd gone with Ito's plan of trying to get more information about the video and learning more about Arimura. I hadn't made much progress with either. Of course, it had surprised me that Kurisu... that Kurisu hadn't said anything. No, she's probably conflicted herself.
殺されますよってなんだよ。
She's probably conflicted herself, honestly. The question came back to me for the 100th time, but I still had no answer. What was she warning me about? Death? Why had she told me I was going to be killed? Well, given the limited amount of knowledge that she could possibly have about you, something related to the scene of the crime? Had I pissed her off somehow? No, it felt more like she was talking about someone else killing me. Then maybe it didn't matter if she hated me or not. And the timing didn't make sense either. We weren't talking about anything weird. We were just talking about the case. Was she telling me that if I kept looking into this that I would be killed? No, she didn't know anything about you looking into it. At least, she didn't show any knowledge of you, of specifically knowing that, you were looking into it. The police had ruled the death at the Love Hotel as a suicide. It was a strange way to kill yourself, sure, and after seeing it, I couldn't believe it was just a simple suicide, but... does that mean Kakita had been murdered after all? Murdered by whoever had tried to come into the room. But the police had told me that I'd been mistaken, and Ito had told me I couldn't prove it logically. This is why I want the knowledge about the damn knocking, and if Ito can hear it. It was no good. Didn't make any sense. I was going to be killed? Had I crossed some line?
殺されるぞ、宮代拓。
I tried to say it aloud and shivered a little. Was I scared or... was I excited? I could feel myself start to laugh. I was fine. I was just fine with me. If I'd crossed some line, I'd find out what it was. That was the difference between me and those morons on the internet. I could do it. I could get killed. I had lots of clues. The first was Arimura Hine herself. Hine. Oh, I never remember if those are different syllables, technically. And then the sumo stickers. I'd only seen them at 2 of the crime scenes so far, but if I could find one at Leaking Noise 2, I'd have a clue that no one else in the world had. I should go take a look tomorrow. Prediction, it's not going to be there, and we're going to have to track it down to the location that she played in, the venue. And then there's that video that had been uploaded to the internet. Who had upped it and why?
Huh?
Are you going to realize the blinking? I played the video one more time, then realized something.
そういえば、なんでだ？こっちもか。
It was a common thing you found in videos, so I never really noticed it until now, but I hadn't seen any comments on the internet saying anything about it either, but
なんでこんな処理してるんだ？
there was something weird at the start and end of the video. It was on the screen for less than a second, but the start of the image appeared from bottom to top, and then at the end, it went from top to bottom. These weren't particularly unusual effects. The one at the start, often used in TV shows and movies when a character woke up. From their eyes? Of course, this is when the camera is showing from his point of view. The one at the end was often used when a character was falling asleep, or just before they passed out. Sometimes you could play both at high speed and make it look like someone was blinking. It's called a wipe. Well, wipes don't typically have the curvature towards them. A very standard basic wipe, unless you do some custom effects somewhere, would be not like that typically. It was a method of transitioning from one image to another.
Huh?
This video is clearly taken from the next to the Love Hotel. Almost perfectly at eye level. From the distance and angle, that much was clear. Eye level of what? You're on a floor up high. That doesn't mean much. Especially out on the freaking wall. I spent so much time looking through the camera that I know how to judge the distance between it and things it saw. Eye level of the person? Oh, that would imply that he was looking at it at some point. Oh. Now I want to know if there's one of those things outside the outside his door, maybe. I was sure that if I asked the rest of the newspaper club, they'd agree. The side of the building where this video was taken was a sheer wall. I could see that for myself from in the video I'd taken. The only thing I could see outside the window were the wall and the sticker. The uploaded video looked like it had been taken from someone's eyes. There's not too much of a jump there. Suddenly, a dumb idea occurred to me. I looked at the picture of the sticker on the wall that I'd printed out. You put it on your... Ooh. Daring to put it on there. I know it might not necessarily be what, like, actually one of them, since he printed it out, but who knows how that actually works. I shook my head to drive away the stupid delusion. I need to stay calm and logical. Tomorrow I could go see where the camera had been placed, probably. Hi. Hello. Don't open your eyes. Don't open your eyes. Don't open your eyes. That would be really creepy right now. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't you. Fuck. Did that happen, or is that was one of his freaking... all that background? One person chat, so-and-so, Ed Lucas. Apologize for being late. Test images spreading through Shibuya as expected. Continue to monitor situation, yes, and the target. No issues. There's no sign they know my identity. Close enough to kill via Shirotakaru at any time. Okay, they do something via them to kill, too. Chapter 2, Simo sticker. The cases cry their name. Well, okay, a lot of that went by quickly. Interesting. Okay. That was an almost anticlimactic end to the chapter. Maybe that's just me. It didn't feel like it was building towards that. Interesting. So, okay. If you are... it did end up doing that. I totally... As soon as I saw that there, it's like, oh my goodness, that's gonna kill him. Or that's gonna look at him or open its eyes or something like that. Interesting. If it's capable of killing... They ruled it a suicide. The other one seemed to be suicide. Well, one of them definitely was a suicide. There's some way that those stickers, via opening their... Like, they're obviously being used as, like, basically security cameras in a way, too. The fact that they could be digitized is interesting in its own right. Like, I figured when I first said that, it's like, oh, it's a security camera setup, but it would have to be, like, one specific person who has, like, the powers to do that or something like that. Supernatural ability to tap into that and use it like that. I also didn't think that it would actually open its eyes. I just figured it was some symbol. But the fact that they're able to digitize it is also, I think, interesting. It would be very interesting if they get more into this supernatural stuff, how much you could integrate a supernatural ability with digital technology. That sort of stuff. Because, I mean, digital technology in its own right is basically just, you know, zeros and ones. It's data put in a format that can be interpreted by a system as that, right? So, well, interesting. I wonder if that was him having one of his delusions, just because the red outline sort of reminded me of one of those. If you ask me, all the people in my class were ignorant children. When I was in 4th grade, only about 1 in 6 kids had a smartphone. A bunch of them would use their phones during breaks to pull up secret web pages made by kids at school or dumb joke sites. They'd pass them around class and to become the center of attention, and each would be the leader of their own little group. One day, one of these leaders was upset because he couldn't visit a site he'd been able to access the day before. Some of the kids in his group suggested that it was broken, or that maybe the address had changed. I told him it's internet filtering. Your parents contacted the cell phone company to limit your online access. Contact the cell phone company? Typically filtering would be done on a phone-by-phone basis, but maybe that's more of a modern take. I can't say. Back in, how much younger would they have been? Probably would have been late 2000s, when smartphones were just starting to catch on. The leader looked stunned for a moment, but then he yelled at me not to make stuff up. The rest of the group joined in. I knew it was right. I wasn't making anything up. I didn't understand why they were all yelling. Later, I realized that I was the class misfit, and he was the boss of his little group, and he didn't like that I had shown him up. I only went to school once in a while, but when I did, something like that always happened. I was sick of it. I wanted to show the rest of the class I was better than they were. I wanted to shock all of those wrong-siders. Man, he was like that back then, too. When I snuck inside, I found a place filled with true darkness, unlike any I'd ever experienced. I assume this was after all the earthquake stuff and by the time he woke up. And then he was influenced by that quote that he heard. Probably the origination of the right side or wrong side or concept. I can hear a gasp behind me.
大丈夫。
Sarika didn't answer. She just clung to me, as if seeking escape from the darkness around us. Sarika quickly shook her head.
大丈夫。まだアミーちゃんの手がかりを見つけてないもん。それにあんな家にいたくない。タクだってそうでしょ。
I thought for a second and nodded. For her, that was probably the real reason.
よしよし、行こう。
Sarika nodded back. But even in the darkness, I could see that her lips were quivering. She was scared.
ラッキーなのかもな。
What I wanted in this situation wasn't a brave comrade who would go boldly forward with me, but a friend who would shiver pathetically behind my back. No matter what happened, I had to protect Sarika. Having her there made me feel better like that. I brought my focus back to what was going on around me and started to softly walk forward. Well, the implication there was that the hospital was doing experiment stuff. I still didn't get a good enough look at that to see if that seemed like a child-sized person or an adult-sized person. But again, yeah, that implication there was definitely more along the lines that they went into the hospital and they went forward and they royally fucked up. Something was going on there. I woke up from the usual dream, but it also ended... Okay, that's assuming that there's a logical connection between what was shown at the end there. Now that I think about it, they did actively go and show that at the end of the last one, too. So that's just something that keeps popping up. So it might have nothing to do with the rest of it. So... yeah, I woke up from the usual dream. For once, I hadn't been sweating in my sleep. In fact, I felt better than usual. I booted up the PC, checked my email, then loaded all the major newspaper news sites up at once. It was how I usually started my morning. I felt extremely alert. Oh, I see a lack of... Or did he put it somewhere else? I don't see the sticker anymore. I could probably finish my usual routine in less than an hour.
よし、そうだ。ガキだった自分じゃないんだ。
Huh. I won't give up halfway like I did before. This time, the mystery I need to solve was right in front of me. Like before? Okay. Some mystery involving someone named Amy. It seems. Maybe someone who went missing? Hello.
このシールを見たことはありますか？該当。使われなくなった電話ボックスの影。ポストの裏。道路地図の柱。街のいろいろな場所に貼られています。太った男の顔が2つ合わさっているような、この不気味なシールの名前は、力士シール。このシールが世の中で騒がれ出したのは2007年頃でした。一時期はテレビ番組で取り上げられるなどして話題になったシールです。2009年の渋谷地震以後、めっきり姿を見かけなくなっていましたが、最近、渋谷の街でまたこのシールを見かけるようになりました。先日は、こんなものも。一見、無作為に貼られているシールですが、実は、ある共通点があるのです。これと、 これと、これ。
They found the one for the other one?
これら3つのシールは、近頃渋谷を賑わせている事件の現場近くで撮影したものです。これは、通称、こっちみんな、の事件現場の、向かいのカラオケボックスに貼られていたもの。これは、通称、音漏れタン、の事件現場の、近くの街灯に貼られていたもの。これは、通称、回転デッド、の事件現場の、向かいのラブホテルに貼られていたものです。そう、いずれも、一連の連続猟奇事件の現場に貼られていたのです。単なる偶然と思われた方もいらっしゃると思いますが、こっちみんな、と、回転デッド。この2つの事件は、それぞれマンションの5階と、ラブホテルの3階で起きています。そして、これらの2つのシールは、まるで事件現場を覗くように、それぞれ隣の建物の5階と3階に貼ってありました。音漏れタンのシールも同様です。現場を見渡せる街灯に貼ってありました。果たして、これは偶然でしょうか？このシールの作者は誰なのか？一体何の目的で貼られているのか？そして、一連の事件と何か関係しているのか？引き続き、調査を進めていきたいと思います。最後に、こっちみんな、9月7日。音漏れタン、9月19日。回転デッド、9月29日。これら3つの事件の日付が、6年前に渋谷で起こった、ニュージェネレーションの狂気、という連続猟奇事件の日付と一致していることに、皆さんお気づきでしょうか？もしも力士シールが、今現在渋谷で起こっている事件と関係しているのなら、同じように6年前の事件とも関係しているのかもしれません。
再生数5。これって、まだ俺たちしか見てないってことだよな。
Did we make it? Oh, Hekiho can. Okay, I was wondering, did we make it? Or is someone else doing that? I was wondering, did we get caught up by someone else or something? Okay, well, that probably leads me to a good ending point. With a very sort of creepy thing going on here, but still. So, let's leave it there for now. And we can move again with this next time. That did feel incredibly redundant at the end there. I get that was the video they were showing, but man, that took longer than it really needed to. Typically, this has done a very good job with pacing and tone and whatnot, but it's not always going to. So, yeah. So, I'll see you all next time. Drive safely, everyone.